Hello, everyone. We are live.
Grand Rising.
Grand Rising indeed. Remembered. Incredible. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good to see you, Ken. Glad you're here. Happy to have you joining us for this
Grand Rising, Ken.
Wonderful chat. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Everyone, make sure you grab a cup of tea, or coffee, or mushroom coffee, whatever.
Or your potion. We're drinking some soul alchemy potions this morning. I've got my abundance going on.
I think I have Heal a Broken Heart.
Heal a Broken Heart. Yeah. Yes, indeed.
But we are here to talk about the Capricorn new moon.
We are.
Which is happening tomorrow. So we're just moments away. The moon's actually already in Capricorn. The moon entered Capricorn just yesterday. So we're really just at the beginning of this energy here. And I'm really thinking about this new moon as like the new moon of our new year. You know, sometimes we like get caught up with the normal Gregorian calendar and think about, you know, January 1st, but this really like is a portal energy moment where like everything is just so aligned that this is really the time that we should be celebrating the new year. You know, we were talking like what's the traditional like New Year's celebration, and it's like saying goodbye to Father Time and bringing in like the New Year's babe. And there's like both sides of this, like letting go of the old and welcoming in the new. So again, this is just really like a great new moon to kind of kick off the new year in 2026. Really big activations inside of the cardinal axis. So Capricorns, Cancers, Aries, Libras, you know, pay attention. There's a lot of good stuff here for you, but also Aquarius and Pisces. We have a lot of action in your signs. So
all of my three.
Yeah.
All my big three.
So, you know, we're here to have everyone, or we're happy to have everyone here with us to kind of discuss, you know, kind of as one door closes, a new one opens, as one chapter, you know, closes out. Something new is beginning, and that's the moment in time right now.
Yeah. So before we dive into that, though, if you don't know who we are, my name is Jake. I'm a hypnotherapist, and we get together on these Lunar Reflections shows to talk about how the astrology is showing up in our lives, in clients' lives, in sessions, in world event sort of things happening more on the collective level, really taking a moment to be like present in the now and tap into and understand how is the astrology like being lived? How is it being expressed in our like reality? And I'm joined by...
Yeah, and my name's Corbin. I'm the resident astrologer here. Really fond of, you know, the Hellenistic perspective. We're going to bring in a lot of cycle work today, though, because like I said, there are a lot of things that are closing out. So it's a great time to be reflecting backwards just to understand what has happened, to inform us to move forward. It's kind of what I love astrology for, to help us to understand what season of time we're in and what season we're moving into. So yeah, that'll be a big piece of what we talk about today.
And speaking of seasons ending, our free shipping on Pisces Portals orders is ending very soon on Monday the 19th. So we have just a few more days left to get free shipping on our Pisces Portals creations. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go check out the resin art videos that we've done. There's a couple on the channel. Or head on over to rayoflighthypnosis.com and you'll find Pisces Portals up in the corner here. Sorry, my logo is covering it on your screen. But go to the Pisces Portals home and you will see our resin creations for purchase. And all of these, the pyramids, the skulls.
Pyramids have gone very fast. We only have two pyramids left. So if you've been thinking about it, now's the time.
Yes, I believe there's the green one here, and there is this red one, which is a root chakra focused pyramid.
But I just have to say, thank you for all the support throughout this. It has been so much fun packaging up these orders and putting little goodies in for everyone and sending Jake to the post office.
Oh my God, I've gone to the post office so much and I love it so much. Like truly, you guys, thank you so much. It really does mean so much to us to bring our creations into the world.
Do you want to pull that down? We'll show one that we have for the Capricorn season. it spurred also just like a ton of like new creation out of us, which has been really fun too. We wanted to highlight our bloodstone or dragon's blood jasper medium skull that we have. This is a great pick for the Capricorn new moon. It really has a lot of that earthy grounding energy that we love Capricorn for. The dragon's blood also like emphasizes that staying power, and kind of the magical qualities that Capricorn has and the ability that it has to manifest our hopes and dreams and desires. So anyways, that is a little skull to share for that.
Yeah. So if you haven't checked out our creations on Pisces Portals, if you've not purchased something with that wonderful deal of free shipping, y'all know what the world is like right now. Shipping is crazy. So take advantage of it while you can. And bring some beautiful high vibe resin creations into your life. Okay, where is my mouse? I've totally lost it. There it is. Okay.
Can we pull up the wheel?
Jump into things. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Let's pull up the wheel.
So as Jake said, we want to make sure that we're doing a bit of storytelling here and talking about how the astrology is manifesting. This relates more to kind of that mundane lane of astrology. If you've heard of mundane astrology, that's really about how what happens in the transits occurs in our everyday lives, and might not be the most exciting thing, but it's really that lived part of astrology. And just one of the big signatures that we have about here inside of this Capricorn full moon, we have quite a big pileup of planets here at the final degrees of Capricorn and at the very early degrees of Aquarius. Both of these signs are ruled by Saturn, and I like to think of all of these planets working together under that same rulership of Saturn. And so we have a really big, we call this in astrology a stellium of, Mars, Mercury, the moon, the sun, Venus, and Pluto. So quite a bit of energy inside of one sector of our chart right now. If you haven't taken the time to familiarize with where that is, find those two houses of Capricorn and Aquarius, or come talk to me and we'll talk about where they are. And that will really help you to understand where this new and fresh start is really taking off. But it is a very Capricorn season, but we also have this big Aquarian element to it. So some of the things that we might be starting or beginning right now could be Aquarian in nature. You can pull this down. They could be shocking, they could be surprising, they could be a little bit rebellious or going against the grain. There's that idea of the maverick and being driven by an ideology. There's something about the air signs where we're moving a lot of energy into air, where it's being driven by ideas. And also just like this Aquarian expression of self. And
Yes, indeed. So I have a story to share with you guys. So earlier this week, I believe it was Wednesday, I was going through it, y'all. Definitely had a week this week. Let me know if you guys have also had a week this week. I feel like I can't be the only one that has been dealing with some intense energies, but I really had a moment of culmination with some of the shadows that I've been dealing with, especially around my own self-judgments, my perception of others' judgment of me, the ways that that self and other, a lot of the Libra qualities, but also the Aquarian qualities of standing out from the crowd or being different than others, but then also that idea of belonging. And so all of these themes were coming up for me. And I had a big emotional release, crying, sobbing, big movement that I haven't felt in a moment. And so that felt really great. And after that, I was okay, we got to something here. We crossed a little bit of a threshold. And we went on with our evening. We ended up hanging out with some friends on Zoom, and it was great. And then we watched a movie, and I was just kind of reflecting. Reveal. Okay, I'll reveal. So I did a thing. I shaved my hair off.
It's a really long story to say that I shaved my hair off.
Well, I was giving context for the experience.
Yeah.
So ultimately, like, I got to this point, and this is something I've been thinking about for a while. I've been thinking about cutting my hair off on and off for a moment. So this wasn't necessarily totally out of the blue, but it was one of those moments where I like took my power back. I said, you know, I'm doing this. I don't care what anyone else thinks. Like, and I love it. I think it looks great. I love how it's shifted my energy and shifted how I feel. And it's really been, this both energetic shift, emotional shift, but then to have like the physical side of that. And, you know, we think about hair too being both like records and also like those antenna connecting us to the universe. And like, I felt like I needed a refresh, you know? So.
And this is where the astrology really comes alive. And
Thanks,
this is the point of the storytelling here. We have, as I said, a bunch of planets beginning to move into Aquarius. For Jake, that's where his moon is. So that talks about his physical body. So when Jake decided to change his appearance because of this Aquarian influx or this push into the future, he talked about taking back his power. That's an Aquarian theme here, right? Where does the power sit? In Capricorn, it sits inside of the structure. In Aquarius, it sits with the people. These are very different things. And so we can kind of see how this, you know, you felt it a few days early, but that's how things go with the astrology, right? And you've really kind of channeled in this influx of this Aquarian energy and did kind of a shocking thing. I mean, I woke up the next morning and I was like, what are all these clippers and hair things in the bathroom? Like, what's going on here? And then a couple hours later, I saw you and I was like, oh, you know, and so that's that surprise that comes with Aquarius at times. So anyways, fun little lighthearted story. But you might notice that you are taking actions inside of your own personal life to reclaim power, to realign your energy. What are other ways that this gave you a little plus up?
I mean, it really was like a physical manifestation of like the shift that I wanted to make in like returning my focus to like what I think and what I want and what I feel rather than worrying about others. And I think the idea of shaving your head back definitely has some connotations. I mean, I definitely was thinking about Britney Spears while I was shaving my head.
About Britney Spears right away.
and this idea of like instability or like mental, you know, mentally going through it or like having a mental break. And yet that wasn't where I was at. That wasn't like the intention behind it. And so it was one of those moments where I said, you know what, fuck it. Who cares what anyone else thinks? Even if they do think that, I know that's not where I'm at, you know?
Point. So where we came from the astrology that kind of like informed some of this happening. If you guys recall from the last moon video that we did, we talked about the cazimi of the sun, Venus, and Mars, and this change of these topics of will and desire and how that is going to be kind of like a lived change inside of our world. And so Jake just said, fuck it, I'm not worried about that anymore, you know. And so you might notice that, or you might be beginning to express some of these changes, some of these new light codes that we downloaded a week and a half ago that we're just beginning to integrate and moving forward in new ways. So that could be part of what this new moon is about for you, is, you know, beginning to take the first new steps of some of that information that came through from perhaps a bit of shadow work that you have gone through in the last week and a half, some of these realizations that you've maybe had around how do you want to connect with people? What do you want to manifest inside of this world? And where are you going in 2026 and beyond, you know? I think the next story that we want to get into, though, going back to the chart real briefly, though, just to dig into, because I love unpacking stelliums. They give us a lot of information about what's going on. And what I've done for...
hit hide. Just hit hide.
Okay, cool. Yeah. What I've done is I've pulled the Sabian symbols, so the kind of divinatory meaning of each of these degree points and looked at that as a story to help us understand what's happening here in the new moon. So we'll just briefly go through the Sabian symbols for each of these very active degree points at the end of Cap and the beginning of Aquarius. And it all starts with us on a mountain pilgrimage, which is beautiful for Capricorn. We know Cap likes to climb that mountain, but it's this notion of the pilgrim's journey and setting out, it's, I'm thinking of like leaving the Shire,
Yeah.
going on the hero's journey. That's an indication of where so many of us are at right now, the beginning of a new journey. The next step in this story is it's called A Woman Reading Tea Leaves. This is where the sun and the moon are at, and it's about getting in touch with our intuitive senses, connecting with our spiritual tools and gifts, using these to get clear vision and sight, because Capricorn really is a forward-looking kind of place. So the ability to look forward clearly comes from this idea of a woman reading tea leaves. So we're going out on a journey, we're using our spiritual tools, that's great. The next piece of the story here with Venus at the first degree of Aquarius would be an unexpected thunderstorm. That's the next symbol that we have. And I think about this crash of lightning being a moment of clarity and understanding, of breakthrough. It reminds me of kind of like Uranus quality, where we can begin to see or understand something from a different way or a higher perspective. And it can be sudden, it can be instantaneous, it can be, in a flash. Our story ends with us who started going up the mountain, but now at the end, at the third degree of Aquarius and Pluto, who's here, it's this concept of a Hindu healer or a spiritual healer or someone who has mastered this spiritual focus and is able to move through life in a new sense of flow. I think about Aquarius and the waves of the symbol. You can pull this down, representing kind of like our mental waves, and it's almost taking ourselves into this this new place of living almost in a flow state. That's part of what this portal or this moment of time or this energetic new year that we have right now with our new moon is really all about. And so I just thought that the story of this pile up of planets at the end of Capricorn going into Aquarius really helps to reflect a lot of what's going on. We're at a crossroads right now. We are at a change. But from the last handful of years, we have been changed by our experiences, by what we've gone through. And there's new expressions of self just around the corner. So anyways, that's kind of the story of the stellium. From a high level here. It's kind of a fun thing.
Oh, I love it. And so many of these pieces really resonate for me too. I mean, even the mountain pilgrimage, I've been leading a weekly meditation at the YMCA downtown Minneapolis, where I work as well. And this week I chose a mountain meditation, and it had some goat imagery in it. I wrote it back for one of the Capricorn moons that we had last year or 2 years ago, something like that. And I chose that for this week because it just felt really fitting. And so I love that we have that energy of that mountain pilgrimage, because the meditation was all around, walking up the mountain and reflecting on the journey that you've taken, looking how far you've come, knowing that there's still more journey ahead of you, but feeling that sense of accomplishment and pride at the work that you've put in thus far, and knowing that you have the tools and you have you're prepared for the rest of the journey as well. You can finish that journey. You've made it this far. So that belief in self too.
And again, with the sun and the moon being in this position of, a woman reading tea leaves, this idea or this cosmic notion right now that it's important to tune into our intuitive senses, to utilize inner vision and sight to really make sure that our compass is pointed in the right direction. That's such a big opportunity for Capricorn. Capricorn is so adept at working in the 3D and the physical that it can do a whole bunch of things. But it's really important for Capricorn to make sure that it's manifesting the right thing for itself. and perhaps not like a vision that's imposed on it by somebody else. And so this idea of inner vision, finding your own truth, and especially through connection with source and spirit, is so important at this time right now. So
yeah.
Do we say hey to Lisa? Do we say hey to Carol?
We haven't said hello to everyone. We've been on a roll. But I wanted to say thank you, everyone, for the love for my new hair, or lack thereof, I suppose. I appreciate you, Lisa, and Jody as well. Thank you. I appreciate you, and I know Kenny said looking good too. So I appreciate you guys.
I wonder if Jody's gonna get a new expression,
right? Yeah, Jody, with your moon in Aquarius, let us know if you're feeling the itch for a new expression of self, or maybe a new hairdo, or maybe new clothes or something like that. I don't know. Let us know. Hello to Carol and Ben as well. Good to see you guys. Hope you're doing well. Jody saying it does feel like we are at a big change.
Yeah. The new moon of the new year. That's what I just keep thinking about.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll there was one point that I wanted to make, but we'll circle back because we have that later in our notes.
The big changes, though, that's that Saturn and Neptune. I mentioned at the top of this, it's a Capricorn new moon, and one of the very few planets that's not in this stellium pile up would be both Saturn and Neptune, which are at the final degrees of Pisces. And, there's just something about all these degrees, right? 26 Cap, 28 Cap, 27 Pisces, 29 Pisces. There's a lot of endings. I mean, when we just think about where everybody's positioned in the sky right now, there's a lot of closing and tidying it up. Saturn and Neptune have been coming together inside of Pisces. They've been dancing around at the final degrees here basically since about a year ago. And so this is not we've all been feeling this energy in a lot of different ways, different cycles closing out, different dreams that are going away, all kinds of different stuff. But you had a really poignant client session that kind of talked about this in a multidimensional kind of way, these endings and how we should be moving forward right now. Do you want to share some of that?
Oh, yeah.
That was really cool.
It was such a cool session. One of those really, very, very fascinating looks into one presentation of, in this case, the oversoul and the higher self. And so this client, they were shown not a past life. They were shown essentially all of their past lives. They were shown all of their lives. And what they were shown was this vision of themselves standing on this metal platform, kind of suspended in space, and all around them were rooms. And these rooms had doors, and the doors showed essentially the energies of those rooms. And as we're exploring, as we're digging into what are you seeing, where is this, what's going on, we realized that my client doesn't have a physical body. They are a light body, and their being is connected through these cords of light to all of these doors. And they realized that their energy, the energy of their soul, their light body, is powering all of these rooms, and that they can pop in and out of these rooms at will, that time doesn't exist on this platform. It doesn't exist in this room of rooms. And so they're able to be both here and in these rooms at the same time. Ultimately, as you can probably guess, this was explained as a depiction of their past lives, of their parallel lives, of their future lives. It was all of their lives existing all at once, and they were connected to all of them, and their energy was feeding these different rooms. And so, trying to not get too deep into the weeds of the story, but essentially some of these rooms were dimmer, some of them were brighter, and that depended on the energy that was being fed to these rooms. And my client had this moment of frustration at one point, saying, I've been to all of these rooms multiple times. I've been in all of these lives. I've lived out all of these energies. Where's something new? I want something new. And it was this sense of frustration and looking and well, do I need to leave this platform? Do I need to go somewhere else for this? And when we spoke with her higher self and we asked for some clarity on this, they made it really, really clear that all she had to do was pull her power back and stop feeding her power to some of these dimmer rooms that were no longer serving her. She was done with those lessons. She didn't want to go back to that energy. She wasn't interested. There wasn't anything else for her there. And her higher self said that all she needs to do is call her energy back, call her power back from those rooms, and that will open the door for new spaces, new energies, new rooms, new lives, and that she would have then the opportunity to step into and manifest new experiences. And so just that very cool depiction and presentation of what that level of existence looks like and how that feels. I mean, it was just so cool to experience and explore. There'll be more coming from that session because I've gotten permission
really
to share more from that. But that idea of letting the old go so that you can bring in the new really is just so perfect for this moment. And that she had this realization, and this session was last week. She's been integrating all of this information as we've moved into this moon's energy more and more. And so I haven't talked to her today or anything, but I'd be curious to know if there's any fresh epiphanies or more solid ways this is integrating or expressing in her life.
Yeah. And I mean, it's back to what we said at the top about saying goodbye to Father Time to welcome in the New Year's babe. And there's this idea of Neptune and dissolving or diminishing or letting go of and letting go away. And if we think about that with Saturn being the structure or the reality or, these physical environments which you find yourself in, put that together and you're like, yeah. We're closing out a cycle for sure in so many ways. But there is such a strong message and understanding that once we energetically let go, we will make space for the new to come in. And the new's been coming in and bubbling in for a while. You've already been experiencing it. From the astrology, we really started living that, last spring and summer in 2025. We had a bit of a preview. And so really this is that push to keep clearing, to really make sure that you're making way for the new. With this idea of all of these endings, these closing outs, the difficulties that are coming up at this time, because there's a lot of shadow that needs to be cleared, a lot of trauma to let go of, a lot of emotion. This is Pisces, right? Fear can fall into this place too, especially with Saturn. It's stuff that we can't carry with us into the new world. And really, this is a time about, again, going back to your spiritual toolbox. Saturn has been in Pisces for, since 2023, March about-ish. And ever since then, we have been dealt with a spiritual crisis in the sense that Saturn brings in challenges and difficulties. And so our spirituality has been challenged in a sense, and we've been asked to kind of dig deeper and to create a more solid foundation of spirituality to move forward. And so we really are advising at this time, just like the story of the stellium, to lean into your spiritual tools to help you through, as there are going to be more things closing and ending. But you can turn that into whatever you want, right? Where your focus goes, your energy flows, you create your perception through kind of what you focus on, or you create reality. And one of the things that Jake and I realized as we were reflecting on this, that we've kind of developed as a spiritual tool, is this idea of time warping. Saturn has this association with time. And one of the things that we've really been able to play with is how we perceive, just Jake and I and the kiddies at home, time. And it's been such a joy to kind of put the phone down, to bring in some kind of high music.
So this,
go ahead.
This is definitely not something that, it can happen spontaneously, right? But I think there's ways that you can foster this and create the environment for this. Quickly wanted to say hello to Colleen. Welcome. Good to see you. Grand Rising. And also just backtracking to Jody. She said, I do feel like getting a cowgirl hat. Never had that before. Do it, Jody. I feel like you'd look great in a cowgirl hat.
And that's so hat. Like Aries,
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
making way for that new for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
I love it. I love it. So this idea of time warping, for us, it's one been really important to put the phone down, like get away from both the screens, but then also like the measurement of time. I mean, if you're constantly checking a clock, you're going to be aware of the time passing
And you're
as
not,
it's structured, right?
and you're not going to be in the now, and that's what it's
Exactly.
all about.
And exactly, and it's about being present, it's about being in the now moment. And for us, like high vibe music, especially like high tempo, I mean, we love house music, we love dance music, and that really helps to in some way for us, like really shake up the perception of time. When you have house music that just songs run into each other and there's not the same like hard structure in a
Yeah,
lot of like
yeah,
some of the
yeah.
other music. So these are some of the ways that we have fostered these moments where we look at each other and we're like, oh my God,
Mhm.
we've had 3 days today because we've stretched time in such a way.
But we've all been developing different spiritual tools, whether that be reading tarot, learning astrology, dowsing, playing with a pendulum, like whatever. There's so
Mhm.
many different things. Reading tea leaves, like we talked about earlier.
If you're a tea leaf reader, let us know. I would love to
But
experience
really,
that.
again, this message of Neptune and Saturn together at the end of Pisces, it's about imagination and intuition, really being those big tools to help deal with the negative energies. So, we shouldn't have to remind you at this point to like go hug a tree. But it's so important to be like staying out of that victim side that Pisces can kind of fall into, or that escapist, and understand that you can create the reality that you want. And again, imagination, intuition, these are huge tools that I hope a lot of us have worked on mastering or playing with at the very least, while Saturn has been inside of Pisces for the last, almost 3 years now.
Yeah. And I mean, in that idea of staying out of the victim mode, remembering that we were reminded of this last night. We were watching a show and they were talking about reminding us that we're living in multiple dimensions at once. We are living in multiple realities at once. Like our being is so far beyond just like our perception of it right now. And I mean, I talk about this a lot on the show. I mean, we've talked about this before. The idea that where we focus, where we put our attention, that dictates where we go, and it steers our timeline. And if you're focused on, all the ways that you are being taken advantage of, or being victimized, or being affected by these external forces, well, then that's reinforcing that idea. Whereas if you're focusing on all of the ways that you have power and control, that you have the abilities to shape, things in the ways that you do, focusing on that will amplify that energy in your life.
Well, and it's like we're in the new moon portal. All of the newsletters are coming out. And this morning in my inbox, I had a newsletter from a local astrologer who I really respect. And the newsletter for the new moon was basically like, hey, Minneapolis is, a hellfire right now. I can't do this, essentially. And like, I respect the decision of that person. But again, you need to create the reality that you want at this time. You need to choose the perspective, just like Jake was saying, getting out of victim mode, understanding that the truth of this is beyond what we can see right now. And again, it's about having a little bit of faith and belief. We used to always do like really fun, little recommendations on ceremony and like having a ritual. I think this one's really important, especially as we keep calling it the new moon of the new year.
Yeah.
To have a moment here to let go, to say goodbye, to shave your head, and of course, with this strong water element here. Again, Saturn, the ruler of this lunation in Pisces, make sure that you're incorporating water in whatever way you can,
Mhm.
whether it be, releasing something either verbally into water. You can speak that which you're letting go of into the water. You can kind of program it that way. You could stand in your bathtub. We love standing in the bathtub.
Yeah. Put some salt in there, put some crystals.
This is where our friends in the Southern Hemisphere, yay, go out in the water outside.
Yeah, go to the ocean, go to a lake or something like that, a river. Working that water in. And if you like working with crystals, I definitely was like Moldavite, great one, because transformation, or dragon's blood, that's another great one. We thought turquoise and lapis lazuli would be good picks, onyx or aragonite, and I actually have a duck that has both of those in it, so I'm definitely going to keep working with my duck this moon. But yeah, make a moment out of the release. I think when we do ceremonies, when we work ritual into our process, it helps us to feel the gravity of it. It helps us to remember the power that we have in the tools that we have. And so definitely recommend for this moon.
Just the other big cycle to kind of reflect on here that isn't Saturn since 2023 would be Neptune, who's been in Pisces all the way since 2012. This is a much longer cycle. But Neptune really relates to our dreams, our visions, our connection with spirit again. And there's definitely kind of this realization that some of the dreams that you might have had or visions or values or beliefs that you held in 2012, 2014, 2016, they just don't align with who you are anymore. We've all grown, we've all evolved, we've all changed in a lot of ways. And jeepers, when I think about me back in 2012, the things that I value now, the way that my arrow is pointed moving forward is much different than what I valued in the 2016 election, for Christ's sake, or the vision that I held for myself, for the world, for people. These things really have changed, and holding on to old beliefs, this is hard stuff, and letting go of it is probably even harder. But again, there's a moment of asking us to release some of these things, to let go of some of these things. We're at the final days here. Neptune moves into Aries about a week from now on the 25th of January this year. It's not coming back. We already had the comeback moment, and again, these old dreams, these old visions, these old beliefs, these old values do not align with who you have become, and it's time to let go of them. And it's time to envision something new for the people, for the world. Because Jake and I will talk about this more deeply in an upcoming video where we're going to do a deep dive into Neptune and Saturn. But there really is something when they come together where we notice the differences between those who have and those who don't have, between the riches and the poor, between the spiritually blessed or the spiritually deficient, and it's about how do societies take care of people. There's a lot happening right now that's coming up, and I guess maybe this will start moving us into kind of some of our next topics here. But there's a lot of ideological clashes happening right now as how we are kind of developing and creating the new world. And that's something that we're seeing right now. And that's a key signature of what's happening here. Again, don't forget to reflect on, the visions that you might be letting go of that just don't really align with you anymore. But now we want to move into this new part of our conversation here. If we go back to the chart real quickly, both Mars and Mercury are conjunct here at 26 degrees. We talked about this in the story of this being the new mountain to climb. And the way that this has really been showing up, when Mars and Mercury get together, this is fighting words. These are combative words. These are arguments, things that can be very decisive or put people on one side for the other. It's really divisatory. And both of these planets just came off of an opposition with Jupiter, which is that kind of ideological belief and Cancer relating to how we care and take care and nurture. And we've been seeing these ideological clashes, happening locally here inside of our city, as well as on a national level too. I'll remind everyone that the United States has a Cancer sun, right? If we were to put the United States birth chart up, we would put the sun right over here in Cancer. And so a lot of these top-down things that are happening in Capricorn that are affecting the people right now is very much part of these difference of opinions, of beliefs, and how we create the new world, and hopefully how we're creating one that cares for and nurtures the people. That continues to be a really big theme with Neptune and Saturn coming together. If we look at that from like a historical context, but like I said, Jake and I will go into that in a deeper dive in a different video.
Mm-hmm.
So how are some of these ideological clashes and changes coming apart rather than the very real immigration stuff that's happening here in Minneapolis right now? Today is the signing of the world's largest trade deal. This is insane. This has been many years coming. There was a large period of time where I thought that was never going to see the light of day, but the trade war has really changed how things have been recently. And the EU and Mercosur are signing their trade deal today, and it's going to create the largest free trade zone ever in the world. When we talk about how different that is than how the United States is treating trade at this time right now. There's of course, there is people up in arms on all sides of the coin. And so this was the fun thing that we wanted to share here. There is quite a bit of that Aquarian revolt. Not everybody is happy about this. And I saw this on my news feed because I was looking for good stories about what's happening inside of this new moon. So not only is this new trade deal being signed in the orb of the new moon, Saturn rules like contracts and agreements. I want to remind people about that. But also Saturn rules farmers. And so there's been a ton of great farmers up in arms and protesting throughout Ireland, throughout France. This is a video here of French farmers dumping potatoes in front of Parliament as a show of their disapproval of this trade agreement. It won't be great for everyone. There's winners and losers in all sorts of agreements. Saturn is there to hopefully make it as agreeable for everyone. But anyways, this is one of the ways that I see the new moon playing out in the world scale right now. Again, it isn't just the ice stuff happening here in Minneapolis or throughout the United States. And different opinions on how we treat immigrants. Immigrants would be another big group of people that's ruled by Saturn. These are all very Saturnian things. Saturn is your father. Saturn is the patriarchy. Saturn is patriotism in general. Saturn, can be farmers or immigrants. It could be those who are forced to move a long distance. Saturn was traditionally associated with being exiled, right? And so outcasts, misfits, those who have to live in the hut at the edge of town, these are all Saturn. And these people and their stories and how they're being treated in the grand scheme of the unity of existence, really part of what this moment is about. So you're going to hear more stories about some of those disenfranchised folks and how we're choosing to take care or not take care of them. And we'll do a much deeper dive on this one.
Yeah. It's just interesting to see things playing out both on the larger scale and then on the personal scale. Because on the larger scale, one of the things that I was reflecting on as we were talking about this with the EU and like the like African trade like agreement stuff going on, we're seeing in a lot of different ways, like the restructuring of these alliances and these agreements and the redrawing of boundaries, of connection. We've had recently, all of the Brexit stuff going on. We've had the US at odds with allies in various ways, shapes, and forms. And
who would have thought that we would have like kind of a Cold War happening with our allies right now?
Oh yeah. It's very interesting to see how things are shifting and changing in really dramatic ways. And when we look on the more personal side, I mean, Corbin mentioned it. I mean, we live in Minneapolis. We're directly affected by all of the stuff that's happening here. And
the helicopters.
I mean, yeah, there's the helicopters, there's that. But it's not just like random people being taken. I mean, it is because I have had a coworker who was taken this week. Someone who I've worked with for multiple years, 2 years, super nice guy here legally, has his papers, but was taken and is being like carted off to Texas right now. And this is
drug dealers down the street will deal for the next 5 years, just like they've done for the last 5. And it's like,
and
people are people, y'all. People are people, y'all.
And on top of that, I was talking with another person, a patron at the Y that I work at, who he was just talking about how scared he is and how scared all of his like friends and coworkers are, and that he's forced to stay working because
a top-down fear push. These are the negative sides of Aquarius, y'all. This is some of the shadow that Pluto is forcing us to clear right now and asking us to clear right now, is the dark side of Aquarius. I think everyone can remember back to when, 2020 and the great conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn at 0 degrees of Aquarius in the beginning of the lockdowns and the lack of freedom that was imposed top down ideologically by the government. That we are seeing the shadows of this cold ideological hand of Saturn that does not have compassion. I'll remind everyone, we're moving from, the outer planets are moving from Earth and water, a place of groundedness and a place of emotions, to a place of air and fire, where there's just far less compassion for people, and far less sensitivity for what's going on. We talk about things now being a spiritual war, or it's ideological, it's mental, it's in the brainwaves, it's about our attention, it's about our focus. I feel for those who are stuck in the fear right now, who can't take their power back and still see that we are creating something bright through this darkness.
Well, and that's something that I've noticed as I've interacted with people in the past couple of weeks. The response and the energy and the feelings of the people are very different this time than they were in 2020. I mean, there's a lot of these echoes of things happening, especially here in our city, which I think is absolutely planned and deliberate, in a lot of different ways on a lot of different sides. But this shift in the ways that we're approaching things, and I was talking with a few people who I would have thought would have been of one opinion, who were of the other opinion, and they were actually like, oh no, I'm going to stay home and I'm going to lock my doors and I'm not going to play into that fight. I'm not going to play into the violence. I'm not going to.
And at the same time, I've talked to people that want to connect with aliens and ETs, but are afraid of people that are a different color than them, or think that they deserve to be treated differently, or should just go back home. And like, y'all, we ain't never going to be multidimensional if we can't get over our 3D shadows. And, anyways,
I'm seeing again that vision that I had from the future when I visited with Jennifer, and I saw the just like wild looking aliens like walking amongst the humans, and it was just such a mixture of physical appearances and physical presentations. And I just, it's something that I think about often, is the ways that we are in so many ways still clinging onto the duality, clinging onto this idea of right and wrong in these very black and white ways, and it's the old way. Like Aquarius is about embracing the difference. I mean, hello, Aquarius is about like the kooky outsider, the one who's like on the edge of the group,
the clown.
Yeah. And so I just think there's a lot of different ways that everything that's happening right now is forcing us in one way or another to reckon with these things.
Yeah. So
yeah. And I think that is a lot of what is happening, is these events, these situations, these people are here to highlight and put a spotlight on the cracks in the structure. They're here to call attention to and, and force that.
Again, the astrology asks us to question, who have you become in the last handful of years versus what beliefs have you held on to since 2012, 2014, 2016? I know that I have radically left the camps where I used to hang out in those days. I know.
I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016.
I went to a DNC
I've changed so much.
Yeah. But it's like, anyways, we're all on our own journeys here.
We are, absolutely. And I think that's
what the astrology is here to help you with.
Exactly.
That's what we love the astrology for, that it helps us to understand the current season of life that we're in. We can look at these symbols and understand through cycles of time where we can be at similar energetic moments where we're going to repeat some of those same lessons. We're just trying to point to some of the symbolism that's going on in the sky right now. Again, there is so much that's happening that is really, really beautiful. That's personal right now. And that comes out of those Kazimis that we had, just a little bit ago with the personal planets here. And we're all finding our own ability to express this inner truth that we're embracing in a deeper kind of way. Jake shaved his head right away. Like, maybe you're not ready for all of that. But as we grow and move throughout the season towards kind of like Aries season in spring, and there'll come a period where Mars enters Aries, we're kind of just crescendoing all the way through where this energy really is building. Yes, there's a huge moment next month with Saturn and Neptune coming together at 0 Aries. But again, this is the new moon of the new year. Take some time to get quiet, tune in with yourself, understand what is your spiritual north node moving forward, and accept if it has shifted, understand why it did, and start making plans.
Yeah. Let us know if any of this resonated for you. Let us know if what you're going through, what you're experiencing, what you're noticing. I think that's like the most beautiful thing about astrology, is it's a wonderful tool that can shift and shape to so many different experiences. And you might have a totally different experience right now based on your own astrology and the ways that your life is being affected by and interacting with these energies. And so let us know what you're going through. Let us know what you're feeling. Let us know if any of this resonated for you. If you do a ceremony, let us know too, because I certainly want to do some bath time today. I think I'm feeling the need to soak my feet a little bit. So yeah, hope you guys are doing well. Reminder one last time on the Pisces Portals shipping deal.
Through Monday. We might have just a couple more creations.
We shall see.
Created by Monday.
Doing our best to hustle through. I mean, you guys, like we said, you've been very supportive, and we've sold most of our pyramids. We do have skulls still up, so if you are drawn to the florals, definitely encourage you, go check those out. We've got some crystal skulls as well. But reminder, it's free shipping through Monday the 19th. So if you have had your eyes on a piece, go snag it with that free shipping deal before that goes back up. And yes, I love it, Colleen. I love it. Go soak your feet too.
Beautiful.
All right, let me pull this down. Thank you all for joining us. Yes, have a great weekend, y'all. Send you guys love. And
thanks for listening to our passion. I'll remind everyone, like, Neptune, Saturn, it's a 35-year cycle where they come together. And I was born under Neptune, Saturn. Jake was born under this as well. And so this is an energy that we really live in a deep kind of way. It's in our natal charts.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, if we're a little fired up today, that's part of it. We are that generation really anchoring in this next expression of that. So
yeah. All right, sending you guys love, and we'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.